Hello, Swivel Heads. It's time for another riveting episode of your favorite newscast, Nuke War News. Guys, it is insane. It is brought to you to not sponsors, is all the whack job leaders in the world that are taking us to the precipice of where we should never go. Guys, it's like I said, it's insane what the leaders of the world are taking us to the edge of. You know, we've had nuclear weapons on this planet, and we've been facing off the nuclear powers against each other since 1940s, late 1940s, when the Russians also got these weapons, or 45 when the U.S. first used them against Japan. But since then, because we've had standoffs between nuclear nations, we all seem to have had the good sense, or at least our ancestors, not to take us to the precipice of where we're going today. That nuclear power nations should not be facing each other directly in conflict, that we should only poke each other just so far. But today the game at play seems to be poke the bear, poke the dragon, whatever you can, even though you may not have the wherewithal to back it up. It's like the little kid on the playground poking the big kid, because we're no longer the big kid on the block. So it seems at least we're not neither feared nor respected on the world stage at this day and time. So everybody's pushing everybody much farther than has ever been done in the history of the world when we've got the kind of weapon systems we have. Oh, yeah, Russia has taken nuclear weapons, a whole brigade of Iskander missiles, nuclear capable weapons, to the border of Finland. Poland is begging to have NATO-based nuclear weapons in their country. It so happens now that it's rumored that the French have went ahead and put soldiers in Ukraine, and the U.S. is sending more advisors. And today, on this very day, today, Wednesday, President Biden is expected to sign the Ukrainian aid bill that funds Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, $61 billion to Ukraine, expected to be signed today. And furthermore, that includes, or I think maybe there's an additional $6 billion in frozen assets of Russia, frozen in U.S. banks, that the United States is going to send to Ukraine. And now the United States is also putting pressure on the other Western nations to hold the remaining balance of $300 billion of Russian assets to be used against Russia and Ukraine. Now, that may not be a lot of money in the U.S. budget, but in a country the size of Russia, which has an economy smaller than the state of Texas, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of resources, and it's being taken from the Russian government, and even private citizens of Russia have had their assets frozen, seized, like seizing the yachts of oligarchs and so forth. Now, this is unprecedented in the world in which the United States had the banking system that everybody's money should have been safe in. So this is why a lot of the world is splitting off and forming the BRICS, and they're fighting the dollar. They're trying to de-dollarize and hurt the United States economy in that way. We know our sanctions have not hurt Russia. Russia's economy is growing faster than any Western nation right now. So much for all this stuff. And what the United States do in response to the Iranian attack on Israel on 14 April, they had a meeting of the G7 to put more sanctions on Iran. Well, guess what? All these BRICS nations are all pulling together. They're forming their own economic sphere, and they seem to be doing just fine without the G7. So what is that really going to accomplish in this day and age? But it's the nuclear brinksmanship that we've got to pay particular attention to. Now, the whole new thing with World War III so far seems to be wars of drones and missiles, not the big wars with troops moving. But when does it take? Oh, yeah, I meant to open some articles. So I guess I'll have to do this later. What does it take to have an accident, a miscalculation? There are Samuel Turner. Salute to you. Thank you for that awesome super chat. We missed you, buddy. Hadn't seen you in the house here in a couple weeks, I think. So thank you for joining tonight and for popping in such a nice super chat. That makes my day already. All righty. He's an extraordinary prepper, my friends. He is on top of the game. He knows what's going down, guys. Now, think about this. In the Cold War era, the United States and the Soviet Union were the only two principal nuclear powers facing each other. We had multiple, very close calls to a nuclear war, where one side thought the other was launching and was standing ready to push the button. That's happened many times, far too many to be comfortable. Now we're in a world with far more countries that are getting them, that face each other and face us. And it's not just the United States facing Russia. Who else do we have facing off against us that we know of directly right now? China and North Korea. And they're all rattling their sabers. And we also have the most testy conflict between the former Soviet state of Russia and Western forces that we've had ever. You got to remember World War II. Russia was on our side, but it was pre-nuclear era, supposedly on our side, at least against the Germans. So, guys, we are playing. Hey, Rodney Middleton, salute to you. Thank you for that super chat. And I'll have a swig of coffee on that with my chill out cup, because this is what we all need to do while we're facing this time of uncertainty. Just remember, I always tell you guys that no matter how tough it gets, no matter how rough and frightening the world is, rest in the great assurance that there is a silver lining around every mushroom cloud. Opened both of my power grid defense conferences with that, and that really got everybody when I said it. You've heard it from me before, so it's probably not such a shock value, but it's just meant to get people's attention. Those silver linings are not what they're cracked up to be in this case. It's an awful, terrible thing. If we don't take a little humor and laugh at it a little bit, we're liable to all cry, because what we're facing is disastrous. Our world leaders just don't seem to have any sense at all these days. The kind of stuff that they're bringing us into, the precipice they're putting us on the edge of, is off the charts. We're doing things that was verboten. That's forbidden auf Deutsch, or in German, from the guys that grind their switch, you might say. Remember the late great Minnie Pearl. Anyway, guys, I've seen her at the Grand Ole Opry once upon a time. But let's get into it, guys. I'm going to share some articles here. Maybe we should talk a little bit first, though. This whole aid thing, where we are taking Russian assets to use against Russia, that is, that says our banking system can't be trusted by nations. If you put your money in our banks, we'll just grab it if we want to, and then we'll use it against you. If you put money in our banks, it's liable to be weaponized against you. That is what really motivated, just seizing it, it's what motivated the BRICS countries to do what they do. Now, how far does this take us, the red line with Russia? Russia is now, they've always said that they were pretty much at war with the West anyway. The whole purpose of their going into Ukraine was their concerns about the advancement of NATO. And this don't help that. Putting more and more assets in the hands of the Ukrainians don't help that. Now, there are those that say, well, we need to be helping Ukraine and blah, blah, blah. But, how far should we be pushing it? Is this not just not focused here? Let's get the focus set. Anyway, there we go. How far should the United States be pressing this when, maybe the Europeans would be best to take care of their own backyard? That's a case I've made many times before. Cowboy Roy Rogers, you're up mighty late. I know you got to be driving the truck here in a little bit. 58 in the room now. That's not too bad. We already getting some nice super chats. I'm appreciative of that. So, guys, we really got to take stock, because when we're getting all these nuclear weapons up on the borders, that's between Finland and NATO, Russia, NATO nations, the United States, between the United States and Russia, we had about a 45-minute period to figure out what's coming at us. But when you're in the battlefield with tactical nukes, it's just minutes. Of course, now with the hypersonic weapons, a lot of which are mounted on submarines and even other naval assets, surface ships of Russia, they get them off the coast of America. Again, that could be just minutes in that case. When you have minutes to make decisions, you are liable to make bad decisions. A lot of this whole thing that's been going on between Iran and Israel of late has been speculated by many to be a stack up of miscalculations from both Israel and Iran. But then again, when you hit a consulate or an embassy, I think you're pretty much knowing what you're doing. You were trying to incite something there Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has always wanted to go after the nuclear facilities in Iran. He kind of stepped down from that under pressure from the United States and getting the green light, hit Rafah, which satisfied him to some degree. And we also know that he wanted to he did want to maybe take care of his backyard before he turned around and faced Iran directly. And he knew at that point he didn't have the support of the refueling operations from the United States to make the kind of maneuver he wanted to full bore against Iran. But bear in mind, the Israeli War Cabinet actually voted for a full throttle assault on Iran as response to the Iranian attack on the 14th of April. And at the last minute, they switched and went to a lower level attack. But it was still an attack. There was still, what I didn't show you, what I didn't talk about, and I don't even have those articles up now, is there is satellite evidence showing that an anti-aircraft battery adjacent to the nuclear facilities in Isfahan, and Iran was hit. And that was not by a little drone. The Iranians had kind of played it all off. So, well, it was just little toy drones. Well, there probably was some of those, but there was a missile or two that went through also. So there's been a lot of stuff at play here, a lot of messages and counter messages. And just recently, Iran has come out and said, oh, if Israel strikes back heavier, we will obliterate Israel. Israel will cease to exist. They're saying that right now. That's just come out Tuesday. So if you think that all that's over, that everything's calmed down, that everything is going to be fine and dandy, it don't look like it. We're still on the escalatory path. Now, as long as the path is just drones back and forth and a few cruise missiles, it might not seem so over the top. But a lot of these missiles are capable of carrying nukes. Iran has been talking out of both sides of the mouth. On one hand, I'll show you where they were saying, "Oh, we're not going to develop nukes. It's not in our doctrine. There's no reason to want to do that." And yet they've also said, "Yeah, we can put one together in just a matter of days." Recently, they had said that. And why in the world would they be enriching uranium to the high levels they've done and the quantities they've done so, when it's not required to run the nuclear power plants if they didn't have other ambitions? And also bear in mind that Netanyahu's Mossad had previously, years ago, seized a bunch of documents from the Iranians, which showed that indeed they were planning to be able to develop nuclear weapons. So, they're talking out of both sides of the mouth, and that's to be expected. But Israel also has quite a seems to the best of our knowledge, has quite a number of nuclear weapons, estimated to be between 100 and 400. We don't know exactly what they got, and they don't admit having them. So, but right now there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of, 3D, 4D chess going on between the sides as everything's been positioned, and they're trying to get all their ducks in a row to do whatever it is they want to do there. We've got China making aggressive moves and ignoring Biden. Iran ignored Biden. Israel ignored Biden. Everybody's ignoring the United States these days because we've lost our prestige. We've lost respect on the world stage. When we took tail and ran out of Afghanistan, when we took a lot of hits from Iranian proxies on our forces throughout the Mideast repeatedly, and our main response is stop that, stop that, stop that. Don't do it. No, don't. We see how well that worked. It didn't work out too well. We've taken an occasional response to hit back. We do play whack-a-mole with the Houthis to try to secure the trade going through the Red Sea. That's not worked out too well, except to expend more of our precious resources and missiles that we might need to deal with China down the road if the United States goes down that pathway. And it looks like we're precipitously close. I hope I can say these big long words in these early hours, because for me it's late hours. I've not been to bed in a while. But how close are we to a conflict with China? How can we handle a conflict with China, a conflict with North Korea, a conflict with Iran? And it seems like we're just chomping at the bit to get into one with Russia too. I mean, have we lost our minds? We can't even handle one theater. We've not done well. And, we haven't really won a war since World War II. Even the Korean War was put in a stalemate. Vietnam, we didn't do so well there. Afghanistan, we tucked tail and ran. Well, okay, we did fairly well with taking up the Saddam Hussein. But, we took 2 stabs at that, and then we left the country a broken mess, and the country's not too in favor of us today. We don't have the greatest track record in the world out there in accomplishing military adventurous activities, and our founding fathers really never wanted us to do that in the first place. So why are we out there? Do we really need all these big far-flung alliances and a global hegemon system that we've had ever since World War II ended? Do we need that today? That's a good question to ask. It's something we don't really talk about as a country anymore. What really should our role be? Have we not overextended our empire when we're $34 trillion in debt? Right now we got Jamie Dimon, who's saying that our economy is about to crash because of our debt. I need to do a special video on that. We are in grave trouble economically, militarily, socially. Our country is divided. And one of the blowbacks that the Russians talk about, this is what I really want to talk about before I go into the articles. One of the blowbacks is that Russia is saying, hey, the United States is heading towards civil war. They've been saying that for the past couple of years, and it seems that they may be encouraging that now, because it would get us off their back if we were more focused on conflict internally. Now, the red states and the blue states are dividing more and more every day, it seems. I would say if worse comes to worse, we ought to look at a peaceable divorce with some kind of military alliance to hold us together a little bit against common enemies if we need be, from that standpoint of invasion. But we can't even take care of our own borders. We send $61 billion for Ukraine to defend their borders, and we don't even defend our own. Now, maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm just some poor dumb rocket scientist. Maybe I'm missing something up here. You tell me in the chat room if you think that's a great idea. I'll tell you what, put a 1 in the chat room if you think we should be protecting the borders of Ukraine versus the United States. Put a number 2 in the chat room if you think we ought to put a little bit more focus on our own borders first. Congress, seemed to be holding out for that for a bit, but eventually they caved. As many as suspected they probably would in time. So they caved in. And what's happening here in the United States is happening in all the Western countries, by the way. We're all facing these kind of pressures. 4.8 eclipse was a marker for United States, North America, repent, possibly a 40-day timeline. I've been saying that on Rex's show. There's a lot of talk about a 40-day timeline. If that's the case, we're getting closer to it every day. I hope and pray that we don't get some big judgment on us when that 40-day ticker hits. But, that's a biblical thing, the 40-day ticker. And that eclipse passed through all these Ninevehs and Jonah towns. Kind of strange. Well, I'm saying a lot of twos. I don't see anybody thinking that countries ought to be defending other people's borders when they can't take care of their own. And it just so happens we have a record number of Chinese coming across our border, 6,000 times more recently than what we had in the past. But that's got to be all good stuff. Surely they wouldn't do something crazy like develop biolabs in the United States. What happened in Reedy, California? Was that just a bad dream somebody woke up from? No. What about all the fentanyl coming in? That don't cross the border. It's just teleports in the United States, right? It's created by spontaneous genesis, whatever you call it. Well, they used to believe that, if you had a bottle of rice, that flies would just magically appear in it over time, or weevils or something. They didn't realize that there was eggs in there back in the old days. America has let go of God's hand and his word. That's what, that's kind of interesting, because that does fit the prophecy that Jonah had for Nineveh, and what the prophets of Israel always talked about. They always warned Israel that, the hand that protects you will be withdrawn when you don't have the faith in the right place. And Israel today is a very secular state. Keep that in mind. Now, who had a hand in creating it? Who generated the Balfour document? whose name is on the streets around the Knesset and the Supreme Court in Israel. So that's something that seems somewhat less than absolutely holy, in my humble opinion. But who am I again? Just some poor dumb rocket scientist. So who am I to talk about such things? Holy guac and smoke-a-moly. Who am I who's been studying military strategy since I was 13 years old, and I bought all these books and a whole bunch more. I got a whole shelf of them upstairs. Just books on military strategy and things like that. So I've been digging into this stuff for a long time. Even before then, I was a member of the Civil War book club. So, hey, Sabrina G. So there are just a lot of questions to ask. And if I was in Australia, where Rodney's at, I'd be really worried about, expansionism from Xi Jinping's CCP, because Australia's a big country with a few people in it. China got a lot of people and a lot of weapon systems. I'd be worried if I was in New Zealand. They're mighty close there, mighty close to them. So there is just a lot of things to keep an eye on. Oh, yeah, and the Chinese also just popping up on Guam. Places like, for some reason, they like to go into our military installations. So how many of them got caught recently coming across the borders in our military installations? So back to the Civil War thing. It's been alleged that the Russians were actually funding the separatist frenzy that California had a while back. When I was in Glendale doing the specials that appeared on the Weather Channel, those little clips that we were doing, those shows that popped up on that show called, we were doing episodes of Strange Earth. I was doing them with Rex Bear and a guy, actually Air Force pilot, fighter pilot, carried bombs, who's a comedian, doubled as a comedian. He was quite a guy. Jose was his name. We had a 3-man team with Jose, Rex, and I did. And Jose, he kept us well entertained. It's amazing how much humor can be in a fighter pilot. But just remember the old warrior poet thing. And you remember me too. I do like to do poetry. I do believe in peace through strength, but not aggression. I don't like aggression, but you got to defend yourself. I don't like warfare. And I think our leaders have lost their minds, all of them, worldwide. I think that there's some kind of brain disease amongst them that has ate their brains out, and they just don't have good sense anymore, it seems. We have a group of Chinese come ashore in Northwest the other day. One of them wants to go back already. Can't make money here. Hey, Rodney. Yeah, I can't make money. I see. All right, so we ain't protected after all the. Yeah, Matt, I probably can't repeat that here. I'll get in trouble, but I see what you're saying. There are certain things that we have allowed in this country that now you got to admit there's been a lot of laws passed against that. Samuel Turner, weather around Taiwan is great now for an invasion. Yes, it is. It is that season. Salute you, Samuel Turner. Thank you again for another awesome super chat. You're one of our great supporters here in this channel. I really appreciate you and all my channels here. So the situation is that, yeah, it's right. They might make a move. If they don't do it here in the spring, they might do it in the fall when the sea states are good again. So it could be any time. The United States is highly distracted right now. We seem to be really weak in our response to things. And I'm going to show you one of the things is that we've been saying don't, response to how the Chinese are putting pressure on the Philippines. And we say, oh, yeah, we're going to defend them to the hilt. And yet China keeps pushing the Philippines like we never said a word. Why? They're not taking what we say to the bank anymore. At one time, they would have. Oh, the United States said this. The United States might do something. Now it's like, United States, we don't think so. So, guys, we've got to, Lee reports Russian government has flown fighters in from Africa to train them against Poland. Oh, yeah, they've had a lot of their Wagner Group people down and all into Africa, extending their influence in African nations. You got to remember, the United States just withdrew from Niger. That's another thing. We used to have something of value to a lot of the global South nations. We had something that would attract them. But, we've not done well with that in some time. The value proposition of what we offer them has been really deficit. And that's why a lot of them are aligned with the BRICS nations. So we need to really think through how we approach these countries and how we deal with them. And we've failed at it utterly. Our so-called statesmen, who there are none today, but our State Department, Department of State, whatever you want to call it here in this country, has utterly failed dealing with so many of these other nations. And it's going to cost us down the road. There is just no way, we're losing potential friends and allies all over the world. We have just done a real terrible job at that as a nation, as a country. And, why are we even in it? How is it that we can mess up so much? It's like, we're anti-Midas. The Midas, everything he touched turned to gold. Everything we touch turns into something that really stinks, if you know what I mean. It's the opposite. And it's like, how do you mess up so consistently? How do you mess up so consistently? That's, to me, a real question that begs being answered. Gunfight with people from Africa. This is Wagner forces. These are tough guys. They were down in Africa exerting Russian influence, and now they're coming back into Europe. So I'm going to do some share screens here, guys. We're going to get into the new stuff, and a lot of it just reinforces what I've already been saying. So you can see this is not just, when I started out, I didn't show articles. There was a while I didn't show articles. I would just talk. And I get somebody, where do you get all this? Where do you get? You're crazy. That ain't nobody talking about that. That ain't out there anywhere. Now, a lot of information I bring you comes from some of my sources within the power grid defense community. And, look, I got a friend that's an ambassador. I've got a general's a friend, a lot of colonels as friends. Colonel Cole comes in the house here pretty often. It's a little late for him tonight. I got sources, but those sources tell me stuff and I can't post it. So, you can't see that. I hear it, but what I hear, you can't see. But so that's why I do show articles. Somebody, you get all your stuff in the news. No, I don't. And if you notice, when I do show the news articles, I often do not agree with them. I'm just showing them as discussion points. What's being said out there. A lot of things aren't said out there. I have broke news that nobody else had. It was on no platforms, like when the United States was shooting down party balloons. I was the one that brought you that. Nobody else anywhere had it before I brought it to you guys. So you can get brand new breaking news here that you'll hear nowhere else, because I do have lots of sources. But then again, showing articles on it, if it's broken, you ain't going to see articles on it. Sometimes I've had people challenge, I don't see anything anywhere on that. Well, that's because I broke it. So, all right, guys, let's go into some of this stuff to kind of back up what I'm talking about. And we're going to come here, bing, bing, bing. There we are, guys. This is the brigade, part of the brigade. This is one set of Iskander missiles. That's what this is. This is an Iskander missile launcher right here with a erect, ready to go, seemingly at least erected Iskander missile on its launcher. We can see another one here in the background. And this looks like just a crane vehicle here. So, and these things are being deployed on the border with Finland. Capable of striking targets up to 500 kilometers away. Russia's deployed a brigade of these things along the Finnish border, as confirmed by Izvestia news platform. So there we go, guys. I don't make this stuff up. Latvia warns Russia is much more dangerous than during the Cold War. Yeah, they're very aggressive today, but we put the bear in a corner with the expansion of NATO. So, look, and some people say I'm all fear-mongering. Look, I brought David Pine on here many times talking about what we could do to prevent all this stuff, how we could de-escalate all this stuff. Well, we're getting a little bit too late now. I need to he did say he'd come back on my channel. I just hadn't had time to coordinate with him because I'm trying to sell my house here. I got so many things going. And then I want to get Jonathan Holloman back on, maybe General Krosniak, a few of the guys I used to interview all the time. I used to interview the late, great Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, but unfortunately he has gone on to the good lands. He has gone on to meet his maker. He was a really good man. I really appreciated him. He had a lot. He taught us a lot. and our community here. And he was really dedicated to helping us. He was such a good man. I really have the utmost respect for him. And unfortunately, I'm honored to be a member of his organization, the EMP Task Force on National Homeland Security. Been the Alabama State Director, and now I'm set up as the Arizona State Director. We'll see how all that goes. But I'm also in the Secure the Grid organization. Anyway, so, and I've had Tommy Waller from the Secure the Grid organization with us too on here, and some other people I've interviewed. So here we're talking about the U.S. aid packet would kill more than just Ukrainians, according to the Kremlin here. I think I missed an article. Oh, yeah, here it is. Biden to sign the national security package on Wednesday. So I'm telling you, this is Wednesday. This is the day. And we're not going to have happy campers over in Moscow. That's for sure. And maybe it's not our job to make happy campers there, but why are we sending so much there when we can't take care of business here at home? Jeez. Yeah, so basically what they've been saying, the Russians are saying that we're using Ukrainians as cannon fodder, that we, the United States, is using Ukrainians as cannon fodder. So what the supposition there is that we're at war with Russia and we're using Ukraine as our proxies to do it. And honestly, it looks like that, don't it? And what did they say over there? They said they will lead to new casualties among Ukrainians. More Ukrainians will no longer be with us. I'm not going to quote it directly just because of this platform that frowns on such language. Ukraine will suffer major losses. And again, you know, what I've said, even though we can pump all this is some Peskov, I guess he's the spokesperson over there. He says, in principle, nothing has changed. Yeah. U.S. is using Ukrainians as cannon fodder, hoping to keep Kyiv on a life support system until after the November presidential election. So how long can Ukrainians hold out is a big question. You know, I've said we can throw all the aid at them in the world, but you can't make new Ukrainians. And in a war of attrition, there's a limit as to how far Ukraine can go against a bigger Russia. And, oh, yeah, well, we're back in Ukraine. Europe's back in Ukraine. We got all this stuff coming in. But when you look, who's back in Russia? North Korea, Iran, and China. So, hey, Tracy, how you doing? I forgot to hit the button. Yeah, everybody hit the like button. We need all the likes we can get in here. So, I hope John Taylor's doing okay. Oh, well, yeah, let's talk about the Civil War thing again. Hang on, there's something else I want to bring out. Stop the share. There was y'all might remember this, and I don't believe I got no. There was a so-called time traveler. Now I don't believe this guy was real, but it was the things he said was interesting. Whoever was putting this out there was pretty darn smart. You know, there was this character that went by John Titor, that was back on Art Bell show or somewhere back years ago, a decade or two, I guess a couple of decades back. He claimed to be from the future. He claimed to be going back in time to retrieve an old IBM computer because it had some firmware or something they needed in a war that they were engaging in the future. And he claimed there would be a civil war here in the United States and a war with Russia. But of course, the timelines were off. What he said would happen by the time he said it would happen didn't happen. So you can say, well, it's all invalid. But what struck me was some of the analysis this guy put out there. I mean, he was brilliant, whoever he was, a lot of the claims he made. And well, he was one of the first people that I saw say this anywhere. And I'd already observed this, and I knew it to be true. So when I saw it, I thought, wow, this guy's a smart cookie, because nobody was talking about it at the time. The division in the United States is mostly, and I've said it many times on this channel, it's mostly between the principally urban and principally suburban or rural areas in this country. Now, you have states that have some cities that are still thinking with a principally rural mindset. Like Huntsville, Alabama is a huge metropolitan area. It's the biggest city in Alabama now, population-wise, and it's growing like crazy. Huntsville is just booming. Now, it may turn blue eventually because it's booming so big and pulling people in from all over the country. But Huntsville's still a conservative city, very much a conservative city. But one of the things that the John Teeter character said was that, and he made a prediction. Well, he basically said that this so-called Civil War, Russia would come to the aid of the essentially what we call red states today. And you might find that the red state people are more aligned with Russia than the blue state people. Now, there's something to that. And this whole thing that they might want to see a civil. I don't want to see a civil war. And I'm a Southerner. I'm very much of that, bloodline. But I know how destructive a civil war is. My people here suffered through it, and it took 100 years to recover from it. So I understand that, and understand just how horrible that can be. But it just simply did Stonewall Jackson. Amen to that. He was brilliant. Probably one of the most brilliant generals was Forrest, not Forrest Gump, General Forrest himself. So the situation, though, he had forces 10 times bigger than his surrender to him, like General Strait. He knew that warfare was art of deception as much as anything else. So he was pretty brilliant in the campaigns of military affairs. What do you think about him personally? I'm not talking about that. Just his tactics and strategy for somebody that never went to military school, non-reconstructed. Yeah, the Reconstruction was probably worse than the war. It had horrible effects on the South, and that's one. That's just what happened. So yeah, it's there's nothing pretty about a war like that. And that's why I would hope that if we get to that point, that we would just have a peaceable divorce between the red and blue states or whatever regions. And I think that I don't believe anybody should hold anybody in a governance against the wills of the people that don't want to be part of it. Whether it's Quebec wanting to leave Canada if they so choose. If I was, the Canadians gave a lot of stuff to Quebec to keep them in the Union of Canada. They moved the space agency from Ottawa to Quebec, for example. Just a lot of stuff. They just did a lot of stay in the country, stay in the country. If I was a Canadian, I'd say, man, get the heck out of the country. Don't let the door hit you in the rear end on the way out. I would have gave them all that stuff. I said, bye-bye. Of course, it would have cut off Eastern Canada from being joined to Western Canada, Newfoundland and all those places, Labrador, which is not part of Quebec. It's got the English-speaking tradition, but we got separation. Alaska is, we got Canada between Alaska and the United States, so they could have handled it. There's the Basque who want to separate. There's a lot of people that don't want to be in the country they're in, and in Ukraine, the eastern part of Ukraine wanted to be with Russia. So, and Russia has it under occupation. So why not negotiate a peace treaty and stop this madness? Yet we're pouring more gasoline in the fire. 11 years of Reconstruction. Now, it was devastating. The Reconstruction wasn't Reconstruction. It was just further destruction. That's all it was. It sowed all kind of discord in the South. It was, we had the carpetbaggers come down up north, and they ran the governments in the South. And they pulled a lot of nasty tricks. I don't even want to go into it right now. We'll talk about it in the future. Bad blood comes from more than just the so-called Reconstruction than it does from the war. Yeah, that was the war. Yeah, the war was horrible. Reconstruction just put a lot of salt in the wounds, and it was economically worse. All the southern states were driven into deep debt, and it took the South 100 years to recover. The South didn't start recovering until the 1960s. So, that was a bad thing. So, a lot of countries look down on the South. Oh, they're backwards. Well, it's because we were squashed economically. And it caused a lot of resentment in the South, a lot of resentment. And everybody from up north just all wrote it all out to racism. And that was not the case. I was not raised to be racist at all. My father's side and my mother's side, both families, taught me against that kind of thinking. So, and when I married a black lady, they didn't have any problem with it. So, and I'm a Southern, but I did marry a black lady. And she was a good woman. She is a good woman. And I'm proud of my child I had with her. So if somebody don't like that, you can go stuff it. I don't care. So plane crash near Fairbanks. Oh, Alaska Soul, that's not good to hear. What do we know anything about that plane? So I used to love to tease a lot of my northern friends. I'd be teasing them north-south stuff and just egging them on just to be teasing them. And they get all these preconceptions about them. And then they would find out later I was married to a black woman, and they would just not freak out. Does not compute, does not compute, does not compute. And then I laugh at them because I just basically pull the rug out from under them, break their whole worldview, watch it shatter and crumble, fall apart. You don't understand us. You think you know who we are. You got no clue. Yet you hear them all the time, still today, and you hear all kind of attacks from the left on the right, saying they're this or this or this or that, and I get it on my Facebook page too. And I'll throw it back at them. It's like, okay, how about this? And when you hit that does not compute part, they either shields up or whatever. They can't handle the truth. Anyway, that's a problem. Too many people make too many preconceptions about other people. Like a lot of people in America look down on the Iranians. The Iranians are incredibly intelligent. Oh my gosh. And there's intelligence all over. Do you realize there's a group in Congo that's actually building a rocket? And they've inspired the young people, the young black people, and the Congolese. A lot of young black Congolese are excited by this little hand-built rocket they're trying to hit space with. And I think that is awesome because the technology, the idea, hey, we can do something positive, is motivating people to want to do positive things. And that has a big effect. You give people hope and show them they can accomplish good things, and they will draw to that. That's what we need to do instead of all this warfare and division and promoting movie stars and sports and all that useless, trivial bread and circuses stuff. We're trying to sell bread and circuses on peoples, and you use it against them. That's a weapon in and of itself. How well did that serve Rome? What happened with Rome when they turned so heavy to bread and circuses? They collapsed. Well, that's where we're at today, bread and circuses. When the United States when people here in this country will listen to a TV star or a movie star, like they're some kind of expert, that's like listening to that'd be like the king or the population listening to the court jester. Yeah, that's what they are, the court jesters. Since when do you take your advice from a court jester? Huh? Well, that's what we're doing. We're taking our advice from the court jesters. No wonder we're in such trouble, because that's who they know. Oh, I trust that person because I know that person. Now, they don't know diddle squat about what they're talking about. They're just a mouth. Meh, 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 meh. Court jesters, guys. That's what your entertainers are. Court jesters. They're clowns. Of course, so are our politicians. So I guess that all kind of goes hand in hand, right? And today, the so-called newscasters on the news channels are no better. They're all the same. They want you to idolize these people. They put them up there. Oh, look at this person. Look at this person. Look at. And one time it was P. Diddy. Well, how did that work out? Jeez. They would have him in on the news shows. They'd bring him in. Oh, well, P. Diddy says this. P. Diddy says that. P. Diddy. Now look what he's turned out to be, apparently, according to some sources. And if it's true, it's heinous. It's a sick society when you invest yourself in the entertainers as your experts. When people watch the comedians on late night for their news because it's funny, so we'll listen to what this guy says. Oh yeah, that's got to be true. There's a comedy show in and of itself. We should do a parody comedy show on the comedy shows. That would be the funniest thing we could come out with, right? East Tennessee has been here. Hey, K-Town Cosmic Gypsy, how you doing? So born free to be ignorant. Yeah, that's sad. Preston Rock, that is sad. Born free to be ignorant. Well, I guess you are free to be ignorant, but that's a stupid place to be. How do you run a representative style government when the population is dumber than dirt? And that's what our entertainment does. It dumbs us down. That's what our so-called news agencies do today, and they all repeat after each other. I don't care what network they're on. How many times have you watched the show where they start with somebody saying something, then they start with somebody else saying the same words, and then just have another. Next thing you know, you got 100 screens, everybody saying the same words, blah 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 blah, same trivial blather. That's what you get from them. That's why I tell you that quite often. That these, some news is breaking. You won't see it on the main news yet. You might see it on X or Twitter or some other place, things breaking, and the news has got to spend an hour or two coming up with what it is. That's what I was a little suspicious about the Israeli response to Iran, because we first heard it from ABC of all things. I thought, well, that's kind of strange. Well, ABC was citing U.S. officials, but they never named who the U.S. officials were. So, that's what it is. I just kind of quit talking about that for a couple of days. It's like, there's something really strange. There's a lot of deception here. And what we're getting coming through the news is not what's going down. So I just kind of held off on that for a bit. And it's like, okay, this is cuckoo. And that's, they do not want us to worship. They want us to worship the Kardashians. Not agreeing. Don't worship me. I'm not looking for worship. Guys, I hope that people respect what I put out here, because I'm trying to bring you guys what's going on. I've been studying military. I've been, part of that. It's not about the war. It's about the people. It's about the motives that drive people. You got to realize history is not typically determined by committees sitting around figuring out. It's led by individuals. Now, it may be a leader within a committee that convinces them to go one way or the other. You have people that are influential in different spots, and they pull things or push things. And some of them push the top, like in, authoritarian governments. You got one person that usually rises and really controls the country. And those cases, those individuals are big history makers. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, many of the generals in many of the wars, many of the presidents and other leaders around the world have been very influential in history because they had a dream, a vision, or their own aspirations, desires. Problem is, when they get in government, they get corrupt because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. All governments are evil, bar none, except a few that actually descoped themselves, like New Days was involved in a town that decommissioned itself. The corruption was so bad, they decided to end it by ceasing to exist. Salute to that. That's what we need worldwide. We need a movement of people around the world. Because I keep telling you guys, there's good people in every country. If somehow we can find a way to reach into them and say, you know what, guys, we're all just alike. Why are we fighting each other? Why? Just like when they had that Christmas party between the Germans and the Americans and Brits back in World War I. Both sides, somebody put up a Christmas tree. Next thing you know, all the troops are partying in the middle, and all the generals and colonels were just gnashing at their teeth and, biting their fingers. How are we going to get these guys fighting again? Too bad that didn't continue. Too bad that didn't continue. Cold weather training. The less of the truth you know, the less you will have in your life. Wow. So I'm going to read the chat here in a minute, guys. Let's go back to the news. I just want to stop a little bit and talk about the Civil War thing. I thought the Teeter thing was interesting way back when, because he pointed out the difference between the predominantly urban and the predominantly rural areas. He was the first that I saw anywhere say that. I'd already known that. And this guy's pretty smart. Whoever this guy is pulling it down, there's somebody that published, they thought they cracked who this individual was by writing style and things like that, and just general knowledge. They were probably correct. I forget who it was, but it's just a who done it kind of a thing. And eventually the John Teeter character disappeared. Of course, I also believe that there's multiple timelines in the universe, so you can't say it wasn't true. It's just not likely. It's very extremely remote to be likely. So, but it was interesting. It was a little entertaining, and whoever it was pretty darn smart. But anyway, he had Russia aligning with and saving the more conservative, predominantly rural areas in the country in that war. So I don't know. Russia would long to get involved, but we don't need a stinking war. That we don't need. I'm waiting for Greg's great filter video. Oh yeah, I got to do that on Galactic Greg's. I also want to do the one on the Chinese threat from the moon. I got a bunch of stuff I need to cover. I've been really busy interviewing people. I've been dealing with banks, not interviewing people, well, having people come out look at my property here. I actually interviewed for some jobs. So I even got a call today. I didn't expect, yesterday, from a guy who used to be the director of the safety and mission assurance at Marshall, and then he became the operations director for Marshall Space Flight Center. And then he went to work for Bastion over the entire eastern region of the country. And he called me. Monday. I put in I was doing the unemployment thing. I thought this company don't want me over here working. They don't mind me working in a remote group, but they probably don't want me working in the commercial sphere again. And he called me. He called me directly Monday. I put in a application for a specific job Saturday. He calls me Monday, and then turns out the position is being the guy who's leading the group that it was for is a guy used to work for me, a guy I mentored. That guy, he really likes me. So, who knows? I might wind up working mostly remote work, but it will tie me into this community here still. I won't be able to entirely escape if I take that position. I'm still working toward Arizona. So that's my background. Let's get back to the news here because people don't want to hear me blather about all this stuff. But this whole Civil War thing, and we may wind up in one. With the strife in this country is far too big. That's why I always tell you guys, I don't know why I keep getting banged by this platform. There's other people on here that only talk, the bad stuff. I'm the only person on here telling you to reach out to the other side, understand where they're coming from, understand their worldview, to actually wear their rose-colored glasses. Who else tells you that on this platform? Who else is trying to be a peacemaker? Yeah, I am conservative, but I also teach that, the only way you're going to get across the other side is to understand where they're coming from and then try to, be nice to them. Blow their mind. They don't expect you to be nice to them. That's what you need. Sometimes you got to shatter worldviews. That's one thing that I used to have a lot of fun with. It was just building people up to get some mindset in their head that, oh, this guy's this is this way. And you just pull the rug out from under them. They just don't know how to handle it. What? What's that? I don't understand it. Well, that's because your worldview is flawed. And I always enjoyed watching those people just kind of shatter, wow. Hit their mental reset, and we need some more of that in the world today, Anyway, let's hit the news. Let's get back into it. Why does this platform pick on me and demonetize my stuff all the time when other people can talk all kind of stuff and never have a problem? Jeez. Anyway, back to the news. I already read that article, so let's skip forward here. Not read it, but I showed it to you. What is that? Oh my God, that's a stupid picture. Who knows? Look at the trash they put on here with Putin. That's trash. Why they put that in here? NATO member pushing for nuclear weapons plan that threatens end of the world. According to this, this is nuke war news tonight, guys. And this is why, because we got. Hey, Rodney, you need some donuts to go with your coffee. I'm trying to be a little bit on the low carb side, but thank you, and I'll have another swig of coffee of that. Anyway, NATO members pushing for nuclear weapons, and salute for that super chat. Thank you, Rodney. Well, we got 107 in the room at this late hour. That's amazing. All right, guys. So, NATO members pushing for nuclear weapons plan. This is Poland. I was telling you about this. So a lot of people think that's just going to put us closer. Of course, that puts nuclear weapons in, the Russian alliance used to be known as the Warsaw Pact. Where's Warsaw? It's the capital of Poland. So it's just putting, they're putting their weapons on the border of Finland. And so there's this whole thing. Maybe we'll be moving our weapons closer. This is one of the things that was promised. We wouldn't put, nuclear weapons in the former Soviet states, and they're begging for them. So it's probably just a matter of time. And it just puts us closer to the brink when all these missiles have a short flight time between each other, the warning time. See, this is what I'm talking about. The potential for miscalculations, misestimates is going up exponentially in the world today with more players, faster missiles. And when you look at the context of the history of all the close calls we've had, even if you don't intend to have nuclear wars, it can happen. That's the real risk there. Whatever this article says, probably taking a different tact on that entirely. That's inside Red Square. I've been there. And they're talking about the increased tensions between NATO and Russia. Yeah. So if our Polish President Duda, he said, if our allies decide to deploy nuclear weapons on our territory as part of nuclear sharing to reinforce NATO's eastern flank, we're ready to do so. So, and he told the Times Radio, hosting nuclear weapons is one thing, using them is another. The crucial thing is who controls them. Well, having them there puts us on the precipice even closer. And I don't know, they got trash articles here too. I don't know, the Express is kind of like a National Enquirer. But now it also says, in spite of what Iran's telling us, Iran quickens path toward atomic bomb. Of course, we've been seeing these kind of articles for some time. They says they insist they did not intend to manufacture them, but they've also come out and said, yeah, we can put them together in like a matter of a few days. So, like I said, Iran's kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth. North Korea. So I'm doing the nuke stuff first, and we'll look at the different theaters of the conflict here. Why, girl, how you doing? Good to see Cowboy stand up with us late. Man, you got to get in the truck, don't you, Cowboy? Isn't it time to wake up and then start warming up your diesel engine? North Korea issues nuclear warning signal to U.S. and South Korea. Well, they launched a missile, which has been said to be a practice run for actual attack. So North Korea's missile test on Monday was, in fact, a drill to test nuclear force preparedness, according to local media. So, yeah, we're just inching closer around the world. Kim Jong-un is probably the most unstable leader in the world. For him to have the nuke is a frightening thing. He has got a worldview that is highly skewed. He's like a child star. I've said it many times. His view of the world is way off the chart. Even Xi Jinping, everybody that talks to him is yes man. And if you're not a yes man, you're in trouble. Again, here's the U.S. House approves the transfer of frozen Russian assets to Ukraine. So how is that going? Well, it also has been approved by the Senate, and we can expect today President Taterhead to sign it. U.S. will pay if it confiscates Russian assets. And they're talking about, they're calling it theft. And essentially it is. And what that says when we do that, it really says, you don't see something unless you're actually at war with somebody. So this is a way of really us saying we're at war with you. America will have to pay for this if it is indeed so, according to Peskov. So Dmitry Peskov, he's the Kremlin spokesman I told you guys about here a little bit ago. We've talked about him many times here and read quotes from him. So, he's talking about the inviolability of private and state property. Yeah, we've seized both in this case. That's the presidential palace in Russia, but the president don't actually live there. So that's just an odd thing. It's not like our White House. So the office complex of the president is not where he lives. Russia says it would retaliate if its foreign assets are confiscated. Well, they're being confiscated. So they talk about retaliation in many ways. They've also added talk about civil war, and they're talking about taking legal action. Well, also some rumors are saying that some of the explosions at some of our weapons and munition factories here in the West might be a result of that. And also, one of the things some of the Russians have been talking about is claiming this is justification to take Alaska back and certain other states and territories. Well, good luck with that. But, this is what's ginning up the hype there. This is more from Peskov. That's a picture of Peskov. He says, this encroachment on state property, on state holdings, on private property, in no case can this be perceived as a legitimate action. They are illegal. And in the world, and in world affairs and the way things have been run, that is the case. So, this is kind of off the charts here. And furthermore, of course, this is from Sputnik, but I think they're probably correct in this assessment. 51% of Americans are unhappy with Congress voting $61 billion to Ukraine. Although if Kim's sister got mad at me, she'd use VX nerve agent. Yeah. Yeah, that woman is nutty as Kim Jong-un is. His sister is even scarier. Some people think that something happened to Kim right now that his sister would take over. He's actually grooming his daughter to take over from him, but that's going to be a long way from now. And his health isn't all that great. His sister may wind up running Ukraine. Not Ukraine, North Korea. Hey, it's almost 4 a.m. in the morning. So if I slip in what I'm saying, bear with me. I'll get to it. I know what I mean. Don't listen to what I say. Listen to what I mean. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So why did the House vote the way they did when the public is not really all that much in favor of it? What else is cooking? Why are they going that way? And here's a YouTube channel. Now, I don't know, anything can be put on YouTube channels, but talking about a U.S. plant that produced shells for Ukraine catching fire. Anyway, explosion rocks UK munition factory in South Wales. Now, munitions factories are places where you get a lot of explosives. It could have happened, but having a place with a lot of explosives also makes an easy target for somebody to commit sabotage on. So what was it, an accident or was it intended? Anyway, so they got this guy, Anatoly Anatov. He's saying it is talking about this deal between the East and West. It's not about any mythical aspirations to resolve a conflict in Ukraine. It's about a banal, opportunistic, and predatory ambitions. He's talking about the West. He is saying that the West is being predatory. Of course, you know, people say, well, Russia's the one that invaded Ukraine. But there was already contest between the Ukrainians and the on the west side of Ukraine and the people in the Donbass region. So some people say Russia was trying to defend the members of the Donbass and all concerned about the encroachment of NATO. There's two sides to this, guys. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying who's right or wrong, but I am asking why are we pumping so much money into it? Collectively, the European countries have a bigger economy and more people than we have, and we're broke. So why are we throwing so much money there if we're not securing our own border? And again, DC think tank talking here about the threat of Iran and war is still between Iran and Israel is still present. So, and he's going into what Netanyahu wanted and the fact that the war cabinet did vote for a war. I believe that's all what this is in this article. Polls also indicated that 53% of the Jewish Israeli citizens would support a massive first strike on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah has been really throwing a lot of missiles down into Lebanon. That's a little bit different conflict against one of the proxies. But yet now, maybe Netanyahu's golden opportunity, wrote this Ivan R. Elon, to basically strike Iran. An even wider war, which includes direct U.S. military conflict with Iran, would help an unpopular indicted Prime Minister Netanyahu. There's a lot of people protesting against him over there in Israel, and there's a prospect he could go to jail. So Netanyahu has a vested interest in war right now to keep himself in office and out of the hooscow. So again, it's where individuals can be the deciding factors in the fate of the world, and often not for the good. You know, they got their own little interest. That's psychopathy. When you put your personal interest ahead of the interest of your people and humanity in general, but what I tell you guys, I tell you that sociopaths and psychopaths tend to float to the top of governments and corporations around the world. That's just the way psychology works, and these people do tend to float to the top. And they are an exception to what I was talking about, that most people are good, because the definition of a sociopath or a psychopath is lack of empathy. Most people have empathy. And that's what we need to reach out through, is the empathy that most people have. We can't help the sociopaths and psychopaths, but why in the world do we support them floating to the top? We need to be smarter and more discerning about that. And we need to really, the people that want an office are the last people that ought to get an office, either in a corporation or in governance. If you want the job, you shouldn't get it. We need to be electing people that don't even want the job, and they'll do a better job. Iran says nuclear weapons have no place in its nuclear doctrine. Yeah, okay, then why are you enriching uranium to the degree you're developing? That's what I keep saying, guys. And why are you also making say, oh, we can assemble one in a matter of days? Well, they may have already done it. Iran threatens to annihilate Israel, and 2 Hezbollah area leaders were taken out. Yeah, Israel is still striking in Hezbollah. There have been other strikes over the past few days. I'll show some of that a little bit here. So, and Iran's got a new weapon. They've got their new SAM missile, a new anti-aircraft missile that they think will take out, any aircraft coming in the country. It's called the Bavar 373 long-range air defense system, boasting the capability to take out stealth jet fighters, they claim. So it's a domestically produced. So it's not one of the Russian S-400s. And I've mentioned this to you guys in the past. They're claiming they got a system that's better than S-300 and on par with the S-400. All right. And of course, we know Hezbollah has just launched attacks into Israel. They're reaching deeper into Israel than they have in the past. So they're doing us on Passover. So maybe that's why the Israelis are so happy with the idea of hitting Hezbollah. Guys, if you're not prepping, what are you doing? Do consider my patrons. Go to, if you want to go here, go through my link, go to Prep with Greg. And you can get right now a special of $50 off food supply. This stuff lasts 30 years. 25 is what it's rated for, but it can last longer if you keep it in a controlled environment. It's in these sealed buckets that you can bury in a cache, and I like to call that instead of cache, and because that's the way it's spelled. It's just like I pronounce Knoxville, and I jokingly call Nashville Canashville. I don't have a K, so why not? It's got an N. Why can't we say Canashville? Anyway, so and these pouches are sealed in it. So you get a wide variety of stuff here that can last a long time. Right now, I'm kind of fond of this package here because I paid a lot more than this just for a unit similar to that. It wasn't as good as this. Plus, you get a solar panel with this too, guys. So I don't call this a generator, but the solar panel, that's the generator, in my humble opinion. So you might consider that. You got to prep with Greg, and there's other specials. There's other deals. They have deals of the day every day. Yeah, that's what you don't want to see. Once you go to Prep with Greg, then you can click in here and look for a lot of other prepping supplies they have. So Gordon Chang, he's saying that Biden's warnings fall flat as China swarms U.S. key ally in the waters. What he's talking about here is that they're ignoring Taterhead and continuing to press the Philippines and the Philippines Coast Guard or Navy. They're still attacking them with water cannons and all this stuff, even though President Taterhead said, hey, we will absolutely stand behind them. So China is not taking that to the bank. They're not listening because they just don't think this guy is really going to do anything. And will he? And then furthermore, China now has got a doorstep in the Caribbean state of Antigua and Barbuda. So they are reaching into our hemisphere massively within South America, Central America, and they're all in our country here. See, that's where it's going to be different than any war we've ever faced in the past, because they're, did the Germans or the Japanese have bioweapons facilities in the United States? Did they have tons of citizens coming over that could be assimilated into sleeper cells? No. What we face on our own soil is far beyond where we were at in either World War I or World War II. We never faced anything like what we'll be facing. Back then, our critical infrastructure wasn't hacked massively. Of course, we didn't have anything you could hack. There was no computers running everything, no internet. So sometimes your progress might be taking you backwards, especially when you take out all your critical systems. Got to go for my day. I love y'all. Thank you, Preston, for joining us. I'll be running to Mexico soon. That's right, Gregory Stevens. We might be running the other way. Anyway, Fukushima has got a issue right now. They've got a partial power outage there. So they're keeping an eye on Fukushima. They've been releasing radioactive water. It claims it's to slow down the release of radioactive water, which a lot of people will be happy to hear that. But having a power issue at a nuclear power plant is something that ought to be getting your attention. Anyways, let's get back at some of the things that happened. And Israel strike with Iran with a missile. Like I said, they did have a missile. It's been downplayed by both Netanyahu and the Iranians. And we've talked about, I've shown you where there was, well, I didn't show it, but I've mentioned you guys, there was a anti-aircraft battery taken out. No damage to the nuclear sites themselves, but they didn't target the nuclear sites. Apparently, even that's what Netanyahu really wants to do. But there was a sound missile site, maybe the one I showed you earlier, that was taken out. Could have been an S300 or an S400. I don't know what it was, but I've seen the video, the satellite pictures. But, you know, if I show a satellite picture or any picture of a facility that's destroyed, that's against the community standards, and that's one of the new things against the community standards in YouTube. So that's either a newbie or something I missed. So I'm not going to show any pictures of destroyed facilities anymore. And that's one reason I want to show you that. And probably shouldn't scroll down on this either. Headquarters of PMF, that's the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq. They were targeted and hit a couple of days back. So, you know, this war is going on all over. Explosion, Iraqi air base causes a large fire. That's the one I showed you back there. We don't know anybody was hit by it. Explosion heard in Babylon Governorate near Baghdad. It's the same attack, guys. This just reports the same thing. Airstrikes hits military base south of there. You see, this is still going on, even with the proxies and so forth. Who hit it? I don't know. Is it Israel, America, or some internal force? Guys, let's look at some good news here. Here's some good news. The antioxidants in broccoli microgreens are 100 times more powerful than big broccoli. And they're also 40 times richer in a sulforaphane, which forms the glutathiones, which are so important for so many elements of your health, like building a healthy immune system and many, many other things. Just go look up glutathiones and see how vital they are to your health. So broccoli microgreens are awesome. Microgreens are awesome. I got videos on how to grow microgreens. Check them out. And I have grown a lot of microgreens. I've sold microgreens. And I have a lot of faith in broccoli sprouts more than anything. Well, it's not really sprouts when they make the leaves like this. This is microgreens. When the first two leaves pop out, that's a microgreen. And no leaves is a sprout. Earthquakes. Puerto Ricans are dancing hard. Look at down here. They're really dancing. Their Mid-Atlantic Ridge is awake. We had a big earthquake there. 5.5, Boca Chica, Panama. We got one at 4.5 in El Salvador. And we got a couple of them over here in the West Texas area. Looks like maybe East, yep, Van Horn, Texas. This has been a real recurrent area for smaller earthquakes. Toya, Texas. We've seen Van Horn and Toya before on here. This may be a couple right here. I think there's two circles there. Rosatario, Mexico. They're in Baja, California. That's what the BC stands for. Not British Columbia, but Baja, California. Hawaii is always popping off. There's always something over here. And the DAC, Alaska's been very active lately. Shaggy's shown us quite a map of crazy amounts of earthquakes in Alaska lately. Anchor Point, Alaska, 2.5. That's getting close to Point McKenzie. That's getting up around Anchorage. And then Yogi the Bear must be jumping up and down. It looks like we got two in Jellystone National Park, 2.8. And Hebgen Lake Estates, Montana. That's pretty close to the Jellystone. And there's another circle in there. I don't know if I can click the outer circle. It's about the same. We got 5.2 there off the Flores Islands of Portugal. So that's, we got a bigger one right there. Look at that. Well, it looks bigger, but I guess it's not. 5.0, northern Mid-Atlantic Ridge. You know, Mid-Atlantic Ridge is separating. They think one of these days it's going to reverse. Oh, we got a fresh one over here. Look at that. 5.4. Bonin Island. I don't know how you say this. It's actually a Japanese island. We got one up here. That's kind of close to Fukushima. 4.3. Chiba, Japan. And the Philippines has been hit. 5.3. And Taiwan is still rocking. 4.9. Hualien City. That's where they were hit. The big one hit a couple weeks back. Hualien City. Lots of aftershocks going many days after the big one hit there. Of course, here in this area, there's always a lot of earthquakes, maybe because of the way the plates are kind of disjoint here. 5.5 in Loyalty Islands. You got a 5.2 there off of New Zealand, north of New Zealand. Close to you, Rodney. 4.8 over here in Kermadec, however you say that. This is looks like Tonga here. Yep, Tonga. And you remember that's where that big volcano in Fiji. So over here in Western China, right on the border with Kazakhstan, and what is this? What is that? Uzbekistan? Tajikistan? What is that? Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, some of them stands. I get confused. You get so many stands in here. That's Kyrgyzstan. All right. There's your earthquakes. Space weather. I got a lot of active spots on the sun. There were 4 solar flares that occurred all about the same time. Simultaneous solar flares. What are the odds? On the 23rd of April, 4 went off about the same time. Imagine that. And here's what the face of the sun looks like. A lot of spots, some big groups, but not with big spots in. A lot of big groups out here and groups of spots. Now, if these were to flare up and get big, you could have a lot of trouble out of that. We are coming towards solar maximum. That don't look like a grand solar minimum to me by any long shot. Okay. Play the movie. Let's see if we can play this movie. See them kind of flaring up there, here, and a filament coming out here. See the filament, that flare, that flare, that flare. Interesting. The sun, she's active. Our magnetic shield's down and the sunspots are up. Not a good combination. Potentially good or even great comet. Comets are famously unpredictable. So what comet is this? This is the comet. Wow, that's a big name there. Fukushima, I don't know. Dash Atlas. Atlas must have been one of the satellites that was involved in discovering it, but probably this. They're named after the astronomer that discovers them, or the some cases satellites find them. There we go. There's Snoopy. I think I'll have another coffee with my Snoopy cup. And you can have it for the low price of $159.95. That's what I should be doing. Flying balloons with little things like that on selling it. Oh Lord. I can fly balloons. I should be doing that, right? Done many of them. Anyway, now these are in the past. Now the day is the 24th. So if you come down here, the 24th, and look forward, there is typically no known asteroids that's coming in between the Earth and the Moon. But tomorrow, we might discover 5 or 6 past us really close. So they're usually small, like that one's 5 meters. But, you know, we're still just finding a lot of them. Cosmic rays are still down. So the cloud nucleation is not as great, which means more heat is coming through. That's what happens in the solar maximum. The world warms up typically. The Svinsberg effect of cosmic ray induced cloud nucleation is not active. Plus, we've had El Nino and several other, we got some ocean currents. There's several things that contribute to the warming of the planet other than those things which are typically attributed to. So there are many factors that play into your climate and your weather. Speaking of weather, it's pretty calm in the United States right now. A little bit of rain, snow up north. The temperatures are from the 30s in Bryan Perennial and Fargo is 37. That's a city where people tend to like to take trips to Chippers, according to the movie Fargo. I don't think they like it, but that was one dark comedy. Oklahoma City, 61. Got Kansas, 55, double nickel. It's kind of warm here right now, but so let's before we spin around the world a little bit, we're not going to go in great depth tonight. Before we do that, I'm going to stop the share. Hello, and I'm going to do my typical perusing through the chat room here to see what all I've been missing. I should call Greg really quick. You gonna call me? I'm really quick. Is that what you can call me? My name is really quick. Yeah, I don't want to get phone calls when I'm live. So, got something to say, put it in the chat room. All right. Got some people. All right. Now I'm seeing the vote that everybody did. So whatever chat went before that is not on my screen now. Matt Armitage, we're being invaded. Where is everyone going to work? Good question, Matt. Sabrina, hi, guys. Jason, we can do both, but as for these multiple theaters, that will be tough depending on how asymmetric they fight us. The oldest video of me on the internet is me talking about how the United States was a dirt poor country. Well, not dirt poor, but how we had dirt roads everywhere. We were very underdeveloped and by modern standards. And we stood up and fought the Japanese and the Germans at the same time and won. We engaged in two different theaters. We put 16 million people in service in the military. 16 million. Our whole country turned into a war economy. But at that time, we were the world's petroleum exporter and the world's factory. We won that war by attrition. But then we gave up our production capability and we outsourced it to what country? China. And now we're facing China. How smart was that? We outsourced our production capability to a country that really doesn't love us, a communist country. How smart was that? Jeez. Francesca, we appreciate you, Greg. Well, thank you, Francesca. Can't make money. Oh, Lord. Let's see. Jason. As well, how asymmetric we fight them. Remember, other countries don't hold the monopoly on cyber tools. We could more than likely black out half the planet. That's true, but they're all massively hacked into our systems right now too. It's not going to be pretty. So we never faced that before. Soviet Union funded the anti-war protests in the 60s. Yeah, they did. They've been messing with us for a long time. You're right. Gregory Stevens, if you shut off your neighbor's water, food, and electric, what do you think they would do about it? Well, yeah, they're not going to be happy. Yeah, they will get very hostile over that. Absolutely. I am worried, and I live in New Zealand. Bluefin, I would not feel so good about the way the Chinese are being aggressive right now, because you're a little bit too close for comfort, and you don't have a lot of means of defending yourself. That's why those countries would do well to be allied with the United States. But why would, does the United States need to be far flung trying to run the world anymore? That's another question. But you do need some kind of alliance. We do have a lot in common with Australia, not to mention just a common language, a lot of common heritage between Americans, Australians, New Zealanders, and even Great Britain to some degree, and other countries too. But, we need to sit down and really think this. The FDA says commercial milk safe despite bird flu virus present. That's a good question. They pasteurize it, but is that really, what they tell you about water? You got to boil it 3 minutes. Pasteurization is not boiling. Eggs. Now, I always like my eggs to cook them runny. They say now, no runny. No runny, or you might get runny. Greg, the brain eater is called bunches of money, I think. Corruption, yes. Corruption and self-serving interest. How is it? These guys who are supposed to be public servants that you send to D.C., they get a little pay. They get paid decent, but not enough to become billionaires, not billionaires, millionaires, multi-billionaires. I mean, they go up to Congress, they get about a pay of a doctor, maybe a dentist, maybe. Usually not even that much. Doctors make more money typically, at least on the surface, but these politicians get far richer. I call them politicians, politics. Poly is many and ticks is bloodsuckers. So what you get in D.C., many bloodsuckers. That's what all politicians are, politicians. I've said it many times, and it's worth a repeat. You know, I made one of these days I'll create a T-shirt. I hope somebody don't steal this from me. Politics is mini bloodsuckers. Make a great T. I'm gonna do T-shirts. I will. Once I get settled into whatever I'm gonna be doing, my plan is one day to launch a bunch of T-shirts. Some of them will be funny. You know, I'll do a Green Greg's and Ham T-shirt. Green Greg's and Ham. Bluefin says that's why your new PM is wanting back into ANZUS. So yeah, the treaty there, talking about the PM for New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand needs to really consider getting into that alliance. Oh, Germany recruited from North Africa. Well, we're actually talking about they're Russian soldiers. The hardest ones are down there. I guess they're just getting good training. All right, Michelle, talking about donating directly through my PayPal via my website, Green Greg's. And so I should check that right now before everybody goes to sleep, and I'll check it again, hopefully before I finish, which won't be too long from now, as it's already 4 a.m. here. Let me go in and see who's availed themselves of that opportunity so they can get credit where credit's due. Michelle Young. Salute you, Michelle Young. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat through my website. They took lots of people for war. Yeah, Nightman's wife. How you doing way down in Florida? Yeah, that's what our State Department does. That's about it. That big brown poopy mess you put on there. That's you summed it up, Nightman's wife. Clay B. It's not by accident, Greg. Yeah, well, I'm insinuating. I gotta be careful how I say it, but you gotta sometimes read between the lines in what I say. I've seen the pics of North Africans in German uniforms. Oh yeah. Yeah, you might get some of that too. Well, Russians are going to be recruiting. Russians are using a lot of people from Tajikistan in their military in Ukraine. And that's why when it was Tajiks that apparently were involved in that theater attack, that, that raised a lot of questions. But of course, Russia pointed to Ukraine for that. They didn't really want to upset the Tajiks too much because they're so reliant on them. And maybe Ukraine had a hand in it. I don't know. Preps for realignment of countries to remove borders and have one big happy government. Yeah, Arnold, Tower Babel, one world. We don't need to go there. That's even worst case of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Look how the European Union's run. It's not representative of the people in Europe. A lot of countries in Europe were kind of coerced into membership there. And now we got some like Great Britain who led the way getting out with Brexit. That's one reason I will salute Great Britain or England. The United Kingdom actually is more appropriate because it was all the little countries that forms the United Kingdom. Scotland, which is somewhat reluctant. They didn't want to Brexit in Scotland. They're talking about breaking out of the United Kingdom. It's kind of sad the way Scotland has moved to the left woke side of the spectrum, or seemingly. But there's Wales and Great Britain and Northern Ireland, all part of the United Kingdom. So, whoa. I'm not taking action there, Tim. I'm just trying to scroll. Thank you, Rodney, for calling for the thumbs up. Tracy Broken Wing. War used to be different. World War I pilots would attend enemy funerals. Well, who was it? One of the Confederate generals, I'm trying to remember his name, actually was a pallbearer for Sherman. And it was raining. He didn't wear his hat because he wanted, he thought it was disrespectful to wear a hat, when you were serving as a pallbearer. And he got pneumonia and died. Everybody told him to put a hat on because he was really old at the time. Which one was that? Which general was that? I know one of you know. I can see I know what his picture looked like. I remember his face. I just can't come up with his name right now. The one who died right after the funeral of Sherman. Yeah, what Sherman did in the South, though, was heinous. Ooh. March to the Sea. But that stuff happened all over the South during that war. That kind of stuff. The war was very ugly. There's a place called Anzac in northern Alberta near Fort Murray. This was a remote training camp for Australian and New Zealand troops to train in a similar environment as in Europe. Gregor Stevens, why would he say Ukraine is cannon fodder for Europe if he planned on stopping with Ukraine? Well, what they're saying is the United States funding Ukraine is we're just propelling Ukrainians into the Russian forces. What ought to be done is we need a ceasefire there and just stop the hostilities. But, we're not encouraging Ukraine to do that. When we pour money in there, we're just like pouring gasoline on a fire. That's my humble opinion. Smash the thumbs and share. Thank you, Colorado Jan. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Yes, subscribe. Not subscribe. Please do. Alaska Soul just woke up. All right, 11 years of Reconstruction, all good. I'm way back in the chat room. We got a ton of chat here. I don't know if I'm ever going to get caught up here. Let's see here. Man, Armitage's talking about the Reconstruction. So it's kind of like now, unfortunately. Why does Israel need $20 billion for Gaza? Good question, Gregory Stevens. Peace treaty. Putin can go home, which would probably be the only way he can save Russia. Well, he's got a lot of discord back home too. That's one reason that Russia don't put all their troops into Ukraine, is they got to manage their own empire. There's a lot of states in Siberia that really don't want to be part of it. They saw a way to break loose, they would. So there are republics within Russia that really aren't happy with being there. Hey, Rodney, you really got the Google going. The Google going. Well, what's going on? Is the U.S. rebuilding Gaza? Probably we would. Geez, who knows? We've seen them want to blow money everywhere except for protecting our border, protecting our citizens. Highly weird. That's right, Gregory. Highly weird. All right. Eartha Dynasty 4, how you doing? Now, I didn't know that what year they come up with Alberta for training. Matt, that's why we love you, Green Gregs. One of the Green Gregs. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. I read that earlier. Cuban Nurse Prepper, how you doing? Cold weather training. Yeah, I was at Fort Greely. We had the Northern Warfare Training Center and the Cold Regions Test Center there. I was a member of the Cold Regions Test Center, Fort Greely, Alaska, for 2 years and a month. Dixie Doodle. I'm waiting for green. Oh, yeah, the Great Filter video. Apparently, in the 70s, FEMA had separated 10 sections of the United States. Yeah, that's something we've talked about for a long time. Earth is a scary place if you know everything that's going on. Yeah. Civilization 0. Yeah, that's where we're at. We're not a top 1 civilization. We're a type 0, which means we can obliterate ourselves. My Great Filter video's got to kind of focus on this hate thing too. I really think that may be one of the great missions I need to take up in life, is to preach against the hatred. I think maybe that will become my great mission. Just got to start figure out how to put that together. That's not what you hear from prepping channels, by the way, is it? Not typically. But there's nothing about me that's typical. A worm farmer, rocket scientist. What's typical about that? A long-haired rocket scientist who looks like Odin with two eyes instead of one. Anyway, had 4 donuts today. We got for you, Rodney. Guys, I've been losing weight. You know, I'm down to about 225. I was up about 251 or maybe 254 at the peak of the winter. When I went to Arizona, I'd lost weight. Then I got down to about 236, and I percolated back at about 245 over the course of many months. I was not dieting in any fashion when I was out there. I was eating too much fast food because I just didn't have a good way set up to be cooking and then the things I ought to be doing. So, you know, but yet I didn't gain that much weight until the winter time hit. So ice cream and apple pie a la commode. That's my big issue in the wintertime. I have too much liking for apple pie a la commode. That's the only time I eat it. All right. Pakistan nukes got me worried. Yeah, well, that's another case. You got India and Pakistan right next to each other. And the warning time between the two is very short. So I've often suspected that could wind up being the first big nuclear war we see. There's a good chance for that. Of course, right now there's all kind of opportunities for that. This is not a war over wealth or resources. This is a spiritual war, says Arnold. Oh, yeah. Can't argue with that. 1 second. She smiles, and it doesn't go to her eyes. They stay black. Talking about Kim's sister. Yeah, she is a creepy individual. No kidding. It's probably really telling you something about her soul. Maybe it's genetic over there. You know, they've had the same family been running North Korea since it became North Korea. Oh, Greg, do as I say, not as what I do. No, I'm just saying, listen to what I mean to say. You know what I'm talking about. Popper Report put that out the other day. What did Popper Report say? Steve Popper's got a lot of good videos. He's one smart guy. Amber Alert. We are missing New Days. Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably late for her. I got a late start here. I'll have to tell her we had an Amber Alert for her missing. She might appreciate that. Or maybe she's chimed in the room now. I don't know. I'll have to see when I get down to the bottom here. She might be snoozing. If she is, good for her. She don't get enough sleep. Or she might be working. She's training some people at her job. That girl works too many hours. Well, I think she said she's taking off, though. She's got to get ready to go to Boston pretty soon. She's got a procedure to do. We will allege that these individuals adhere to religiously motivated, violent extremist ideology, says Tracy. Well, the evidence don't refute that. That's all I can say. Other countries are going to own more of the U.S. than we do. Well, we're letting countries that aren't friendly to us buy too much stuff here in areas that are very sensitive in military bases in particular, and our food processing facilities. Where's the wisdom of that? How do you think they survive there? Try some celery. Celery's good for you. Takes more energy to digest celery than it gives you back. Yeah, Dixie Diddles, check out the broccoli microgreens. Yeah, I did a lot of microgreens videos. Well, shoot, I'm going to take action. I'm just trying to scroll. Ooh, I'm getting kind of hot wearing this big long sleeve t-shirt. Oh, if I made it, no, I didn't make it at the bottom. I think I just skipped a bunch of messages. I did. I skipped a bunch of messages. Where'd I lose at? Right there. Getting close to the bottom. Sandbox is a very complicated place. No kidding. It's not good. Yellowstone's rocking. Jellystone. Hey, Rodney, now you have me added, so hit me up. Okay. Uh-oh, sleeping. Where's Riker when you need him? Shows up. Go to dinner and see you later. All right, Rodney. Hope you have a good one. Good dinner. Bad weather coming to the Midwest next couple of days. One might scroll through. Man, it's getting late, though. It's already 4:30. Greg sent you 2 pictures on FB Messenger. So the moon. I promise if I go to the FB Messenger and try to show something, you might see somebody else's message that don't want to have it seen. I have to be careful with that. Because stuff pops up. I'll try to go into it. Oh, it ain't launching. How come it ain't launching? Anyway. Had to restart. Well, okay, glad you're back with us, Colorado Jan. Startled mouse. We had a mouse in the house. There he is, Startled Mouse. How you doing, Startled Mouse? Yeah, our politicians, they sell out. They're just Longstreet. No, it wasn't Longstreet, was it? I think it was, I don't think it was Longstreet. Who was it that was at that funeral? I have to go back and look. It was, I have to go back and look. All right, let's see. Moon tonight. Oh, those are spooky pictures. Nice. I love it. Yeah, all right. We're going to go share that. Share screen. Ding, 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 ding. All right. Here's Shaggy's Alaska Souls. Scary pictures of the moon through the trees up there in Alaska. Look at that, guys. Kind of spooky looking, right? It's a little camp smoke looks like here. There's a ice fog. No, it's too late. It's too late in the season for ice fog in your area. So I assume that's smoke. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sometimes I like to photograph the sun through trees like that too. I got trees behind my house, so I see stuff like that a lot too. All right, let's do a stop. We'll get back here to the weather and we'll do a stop share. Whoo, I'm burning up. I'm hot. No, he's going to protect our border because he needs the votes. No kidding. You're so right, Colorado Jen. My old nickname for Greg is Wormy. How you doing, John Baxter? Got worms? If not, get you some. Missing old Fort Bragg. Yeah, we are. Carol! Salute to you, Carol. Thank you for the super chat. All righty. I almost missed that one down in here. Thank you, Carol. Hot fly swatter, Batman. Way too much going on. Amen to that. It's a sick world, says John Baxter. We all need to talk it better. Yeah, I think we can be part of the solution. It's got to start from the grassroots. Our leaders sure aren't going to do it for us. They're all corrupt to the core because they got too much power. You got to start removing the power from them because they got too much of it. And if you want to put it all up in one system worldwide where they're unaccountable to people like NGOs and how they elect a parliament in Europe, horrible, horrible. That's smoke from my yurt fire. All right. Let's see some pictures of your yurt one of these days. Well, cold here in Britain, keen hovering around 44F for 3 days. General Johnston, bingo, that's it. It was General Johnston. Yes, General Johnston. He was the one. Bingo. I just couldn't, yeah, I could see his face and I just couldn't get his name in my head here. Anyway, yeah, he wouldn't put the head on in the funeral. So thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Anyway, guys, I am going to go back to the weather real fast. We're just going to kind of spin around the world, maybe run the calendar forward. I'm not going to go city to city like I sometimes do. It's really late. I don't see any major issues with weather right now. We might run the clock forward in the United States. So let's go back and do share screen. Bada bing. It's looking kind of mild. Let me update it to the present. Bing, we're right there. No big changes. Still looks pretty much the same. Fargo is down to freezing now. That's a cold place. Green Bay, Wisconsin's freezing. Got 25 up here in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay. Y'all ever hear Jim Jesse and the Virginia Boys sing Thunder Roads? I love that song, especially when they're band. Calgary's 30, Mr. Arnold. I do want to go up to Alaska. Fairbanks is 35. Calgary is cooler than Fairbanks. Anchorage is 34. Homer 35. Kodiak 41. Phoenix is kind of warm as usual. Nothing, no surprise there. I said I'm going to do all the cities, but I am curious. What's it looking like over here? Don't want to update. Wrong control. Yeah, they made all the controls around. I'm having a hard time flying this thing now. One more in. One more in. Come on. I don't see any temperatures. I don't have Jesse in the house either. Jesse Mills is not with us right now. He's around Show Low, which is 50. Snowflake is 52. That's really warm in Snowflake. Sedona and Double Nickel. Wow, that's warm out there. Let's see how that compares to where I'm at. I think I may be a little warmer here. Feels warm, at least in the house it does. This thing, I don't want to scroll too much. My computer must be struggling right now for memory. No, it's not struggling on memory. I guess it's the server is struggling. Yeah, she's not wanting to update. She is struggling hard. Wow, we got a big system off there in Bering Sea. Australia, you're looking pretty blank. I don't see a lot of weather there. You're heading into autumn. Deeper into the autumn, heading midway into autumn, I guess. Yeah, all right. You got Townsville 77, Bundaberg 70, it's Weepaw, 80 in Weepaw. Always like to check Weepaw. There's not a lot of variation in Weepaw. Melbourne, not a lot of variation down here either. It's usually in the 50s. Hobart 50, Canberra 53. Canberra is always cooler, it seems, than Sydney. Perth 71. Alice Springs 71. Tennant Creek 84. Not too bad. In Australia, New Zealand. You got somebody from New Zealand in the house tonight. Christchurch 55, Dunedin 55, New Plymouth 59, Auckland's 55, you know. Let's go up to Europe. This thing will scroll. Yeah, she's really hanging up on me tonight. Lottie. Jordan is 84. Kuwait City 86. Baghdad 93. Snowing in Switzerland. No, Austria and Switzerland both got snow. In the Alps. Snowing in the Alps. Minsk 44. Moscow 52. Copenhagen 43. Is Norway in the house tonight? Oslo's 43. Stavanger 43. Hull 44. London 46. Yeah, it's kind of cool up there for springtime. Your wind's coming out of the north, that's why. Birmingham, England is 44. All right, what's Birmingham, Alabama? Let's go out one. Scroll over. Yeah, New Days is not with us. St. John's is 32. All right, I'll have to go in a little bit. You guys may watch this later. Wind's coming out of south in Maine. Houghton. What's Houghton? 32. It's freezing up there. Boston, 43. Altoona, Pennsylvania, 48. Ohio's in the 40s pretty much everywhere, like Indiana. Nashville's 57. Knoxville's 53. Birmingham, Alabama is warmer than Birmingham, England. There's 44 there, 53 here. Hunts Patch is 53. That's comparable to, actually, I think Snowflake might be a little warmer. Roswell, 59. Hello, aliens. Well, Shello is 50. It's up a little higher than Snowflake. It says about 53 here. Snowflake 52. Very comparable. About a degree difference. Alrighty. I'm going to back up. I'm going to run the weather. Somebody said we got something coming in a couple of days. Let's see what that looks like. Let's scan out to the United States at large, or run it and call it a night almost here, or morning, or whatever it is. This is slow updating here, really slow. Yikes, we backed out a lot. There, we get the United States and Canada too. Maybe even part of Alaska. Yeah, we'll get southern Alaska here too. All right, let's run it and see what we got. A lot of snow in northern British Columbia. Throughout British Columbia. Wednesday, it looks like it's trying to get over into Alberta. No, don't make it. Thursday, staying in British Columbia. A little bit edging into Alberta now. Thursday, yeah, northern Alberta. Look, we got a lot of rain in Colorado Jan coming up for Friday. We got storms there. Friday morning, all through here. Storms are dissipating later hours Friday. They're flaring up again. Saturday, what happens? Not too bad on Saturday. Some in Texas Saturday, late up in Oklahoma. Oh, there's some big storms. Look at that. Sunday, big storms on Sunday, all through Texas and Oklahoma, up in Nebraska, a little bit between Kansas and Missouri. Sunday mid-afternoon, about 1 a.m. No, that's a morning, 1 a.m., 3 a.m. That's strong storms for that hour. A.m., p.m., they're dying down. That's unusual. Cooking up again Sunday later. Arkansas, watch out, Michelle. Arkansas, oh, now going down to Louisiana Monday. Big time in Louisiana Monday. Yeah, that can vary a lot that far out. So no point in belaboring that too much. All right, that's enough of that because, this stuff can vary so much that far out. Stop the share. Hello. BC is already reporting fires. Whoa, Dixie Doodles. So it sounds like it's going to be beautiful, but tough. Yeah, fire season is no fun. Sirius 46F been the highest temperature all day here. Wow. All right, John. All right, folks, everybody tell us where you're from. Let's call it a night. It's late. I want to go. It's almost 5 o'clock here. It's going to take me another hour to just get in bed. All right. Let her roll. Tell us where you're from. Then we're going to call it a night. Me, Tony, Alabama, and Snowflake, Arizona. Heading to Snowflake, Arizona, hopefully. I have to go through BC on my way. Area on my walk. Where are you going to walk to, Alaska? So are you going to walk the lower 48 from Alaska? All right, Jason is the first one. He's from Area 51. Central Ohio. Well, very good, Tracy. Naturita, Colorado, Jan. I'm from Planet Greg, Alaska. All right, Alaska. So, Cherry Blossom Festival, Huntsville, Alabama. Matt, where you at, Matt? Are you here? Yeah, we got the Japanese donated a bunch of cherry trees, and we got them in the Big Spring Park. A lot of other things bloom out early. Montgomery, how you doing, Carol? Darlington, South Carolina. Be lunchtime here soon. All right, John Baxter. Way out there. Okay, All the Sun, you are way out there. All this sun, and my name is All Is On. She's All the Sun. I am All Is On. Or Alice Sun. How are you going to break it up? Trenton, Florida, Nightman's wife. Hillsboro, West Bocastan. Good to see you there, chewy weather. Brian Gunnarsson is warning about the subsurface thermal heat sources which are starting fires. Oh, I don't know. That's interesting. I know in Alaska, because you had this thick layer of moss in the forest, the fires that would break out would smolder under that snow all winter long, and you'd see just little whispers of smoke coming out of the snow, and when it warmed up, they would really break out. Bama, all right, and they Chocker, good to see you here from Alabama. I take it you're an Alabama fan since you put the big A in there. Roll Tide. John Baxter, check the ozone holes if they let you. I have to see how to check those. Hey, Roy, you still with us, or did you just wake up again? About time to warm that truck up, is it not? Did you just wake up again, Roy? I don't know. The fires stayed all throughout the winter due to a lack of snow. That's not good. Roy, did you take a nap during the middle of this video? Wallops Island, Virginia. Hey, Mr. Bluestone, I've been there. Biloxi. All right, Keith Lander. All Is On. That's me. All Is On. That's my last name. All the Sun. All right. I guess that's all we're getting out of you guys tonight. We still got 98 in the room. I wonder how many of the people in the room are snoozing. Is falling asleep at their terminal. If you're falling asleep, speak up. I'm asleep. All right. What's the best source to go to for ozone hole data? Oh, yeah. Need to start checking some other things out. All right, folks. It takes forever to go through a lot of this stuff. Lord. All right, I'm not seeing a lot of chat. John, absolute zero. Yeah, absolute zero is extremely cold. That's where the atoms don't even vibrate. Why, girl? Well, we know where you must be from. Godspeed, Cowboy. Amen. Amen. He's quite a trooper. Guys, go check his channel out. Subscribe to Cowboy Roy Rogers. He's puts out a lot of good material. Real good, down to earth guy, and he has a lot of passion for doing what's right. He's my vice president of operations within the Freedom Restoration Foundation. All righty, folks, we've been here a long time, and we're approaching 2 hours, about 2 minutes away from 2 hours. Florida, now Fayetteville, Tennessee. Matt, you're next door. Yes, sir. Fayetteville, Tennessee. It's just a little hop and skip from me. I've heard many times. Geomagnetic Earth Watch. Yeah, I've seen it. He's been watching the hot spots for 3 years, reporting on YouTube for over a year. He does a much better job than a number of others. Yep. Born in Honolulu. Wow, Alaska soul. Supercells. That's a little bit concerning. Had to get up at 2:30 a.m. Now the truck is washed. I'm ready to head to the Rio Grande Valley. Okay, so you got up just before we started. So you got your new day. I got to take a nap and start my new day. About all I'm going to get is a nap. Alrighty, folks. I just got to say this. Thank you, Super Chatters. Thank you, mods, for all you do. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Please share my videos. Share them wide. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Bang the notification bell and click all. Bang the bell. I just want to thank y'all for being here. Share my videos far and wide. And just remember, as light dispels dark, stage lights, love dispels hate. We got to work on that, guys. We really got to work it. Dinosaurs ran because they smelt the super freeze coming. Was born in the same hospital that got, in World War II. Wow. How about that? All the sun. Give your best and have a blessed day. Amen. Amen. Well, thank you all. Thank you all. We're family. Appreciate you all. When you go to bed tonight, say prayers for all these people we normally pray for and world peace. You know, guys, we got to spread the love. Be the agent of change yourself. So great. Thank you for visiting. Oh, yeah. He's thanking everybody. Thank you, Arnold. And once again, thank you all. Thank you, one and all. To all have a